I hope that everybody had a terrific week. There's a very famous life principle taught to us by Rav Zusha of Anapol that goes along the lines of this: that after 120 years, when we are reflecting on our life, nobody is going to ask us, they're going to be concerned with, why weren't we Moshe Rabbeinu or Avram Avinu? Why weren't we as great and holy as those tzaddikim? But rather they're going to ask, why weren't we ourselves? Why weren't we as great as we could be? In Rav Zusha's words, they're going to ask, why wasn't I Zusha? Why didn't I become the best Zusha that I could be? This is very relevant for this week's Parsha, because in the beginning, as Yaakov and Esav are growing up and forming their identities, so Esav is hungry one day, and he trades his right to the firstborn to Yaakov in exchange for a good cholent, a good lentil soup. The Torah tells us, Vayochal Vayeshti, and he drank, Vayakam Vayelach, he got up and he went, Vayivez Esav es Habachora, and he belittled, he disgraced the firstbornship. The Medrash describes to us what happened. Esav said, Hinei anochi olech lamos. Esav heard what this firstborn right, what this privilege would bring him. That in future generations, his offspring will work in the Beis HaMikdash. And if you're not so careful about how we work, about the precision of the avodah that we do and what we're thinking at the time, there are so many different mistakes that could lead to a chiyuv misa. And Esav said, I don't want to obligate my children to a job that is going to have them looking over their shoulders all the time and worrying, having anxiety. Oh, I might do something wrong and be chayiv misa. So Esav said, well, I don't want that responsibility. Yaakov, why don't you take that? And Yaakov accepted it. The question is, the word vayivez, belittled and disgraced. That's a very strong terminology. It doesn't seem so crazy that Esav should be concerned about all the chiyuvei misa, all the potential death that might be brought by a mistake in the Beis HaMikdash. Why is that disgracing and belittling? That would just seem like, okay, Esav was afraid. So the Medrash adds that when we have 5 verbs in a row, Vayochal, Vayesht, Vayakam, Vayelech, Vayivez, so that indicates to us that that day, Esav committed 5 massive averos. And the reason why it's vayivez, the reason why it's disgraced, is because when it comes to murder, and when it came to adultery, and when it came to worshiping idolatry, so when it came to those, Esav embraced them with full passion, even though maybe when he murdered, his life would have been at risk, even though maybe when he committed adultery, maybe the woman's... So when it came to those, Esav embraced them with full passion, even though maybe when he murdered, his life would have been at risk. Even though maybe when he committed adultery, maybe the woman's husband maybe would have hunted him down and wanted to start a fight. Even though there were risks involved in those averos, Esav didn't hesitate. There was no fear. But when it came to serving in the Beis HaMikdash, so then all of a sudden, Esav hesitated and Esav was afraid. Sometimes we don't have to look at other people to figure out what we're supposed to do. We just have to look at ourselves. Let me look at the enthusiasm, at the excitement, at the passion that I have about studying history or science, or about staying up to watch a sports event, or about the way that I treat certain people that I really like. That could show us our potential, that could show us what we're capable of when it comes to things that I might not be so excited by. Maybe about learning Torah, maybe about staying up late to have an extra chavrusa, maybe about the way that we treat people that are close to us, our family members, our parents, our spouses, our children. Vayiv as Esav as HaBechorah, the reason why he was considered to disgrace the Bechorah was not because somebody else would have been capable of doing the service in the Beis HaMikdash properly and he wouldn't have. No. But by doing passionately the averos that he did that day, by throwing caution to the wind like he did that day, he showed that within himself, Esav already had what it took to embrace the service of the Beis HaMikdash. And because when it came to his desires, when it came to fulfilling his own passions, so then he went all out and he didn't worry about the fear. So that's why when it came to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and to what Hashem asked him to do in his service, and then he shied away, that's why it's considered belittling. We have to be able, It's very hard to be honest with ourselves, to look at ourselves, to figure out what our talents are, what our abilities are, what we're capable of doing. But that's what's going to show us. We could be, of course, be inspired by other people to see if maybe that motivates us to reach a height that I never thought that I could do. But at the end of the day, it's within ourselves. We already know inside ourselves. We can tell from what we do when it comes to things that we're interested and excited about. That's what indicates to us how passionate and strong and committed we can be to HaKadosh Baruch Hu as well. You heard some of the Finish Hashemayim. Hashem should help us have the strength to be honest with ourselves and then to be able to translate that into an even greater version of who we are. Have a great Shabbos.